Hey guys, and welcome to the J and K show. Jay is going to produce the show today. We're going to pop his cherry on that. He's going to enjoy himself. Jay, what do we have slated for the episode today?
Well, we had just kind of planned on, up until yesterday, doing open coaching vacancies and who could go where, and who could we see as a first-time head coach. But yesterday we get hit with a bombshell that the Ravens fired John Harbaugh, and that was just surprising. I did not
What
see
we
that one coming.
what have we said all year, and then they did it anyway? We called this in week three? When it was they were 2-4 or something. We called it week 5, I think. Week 5, we said this, and then we were like, "Hey, they're not gonna be stupid because they played for the last game of the year. They figured out some things, and they turn around and do it anyway."
Yeah, it was just weird because early in the season they just weren't healthy, and they took a lot of injuries at really bad times, and their defense was just shredded. And then Lamar gets hurt. I think it was week 4 or 5, and you would just think, yeah, they're getting off to a rocky start. They won what 12 games last year,
They
and
were really good
like
last year.
they were very, very good last year, and I think that part of the issue this season was just they didn't have their A team on the field at the same time for a majority of the season. So maybe they just weren't used to having playing with each other on the field. They just they weren't confident that the other guys were going to be where they needed to be. Maybe communication just wasn't there. I don't know, but it just seemed like there were games when they were dominant. There were games where they were dominated, and they were just a different team every week. And it was just you didn't know what Ravens team you were going to get. I think that I think that could be forgivable, especially when you have someone who's been in your building for 18 years, who has brought you a championship. I just don't see why they did. I mean, I'm sure they have their reasons that we're just not on the inside to know, but definitely a shock for sure.
I didn't like it. When he
I
when
didn't
he
either.
survived Black Monday, I was like, all right, good. Like I felt like, all right, good. I'm a little worried about it, and they threw him away Tuesday. I don't know what to call Tuesday. Like trashed out Tuesday. Like what in the
Yeah.
world? He When you fire a head coach, for everybody that so you're like, oh, maybe he deserved it, this or that. When the head coach spends a very short amount of time being a free agent, that kind of tells you that it wasn't the right decision to fire him. And we all know that
Mm-hmm.
John Harbaugh is, by and large, the number one available coach right now. So why do that? You think you need a culture change? Well, in my personal opinion, if you're Baltimore, clean house. Don't leave the rest
Yeah.
of the team pretty much together. You just fired the guy that masterminded the whole thing. You just think you'll bring in someone better than him to run that show? Just clean house. Where's Lamar going? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Let's go
I
Colts.
don't think
Let's
he's going to
go.
go anywhere. That's a
Col
pipe dream for
Lamar
sure.
Lamar is gone. Derrick Henry's gone. Like, let's go.
I don't know if they're gonna. The roster's still solid, but they do need a few pieces. That's for sure. I think they have been needy as far as targets go. Their wide receiver room has always been subpar. I mean
Sus.
they have D Hop. But I mean he's definitely in the last year or two of his career. They have Zay Flowers, and that's about it right now as far as wide receivers go. They really don't have anybody that's going to break the bank here. But I think that may be something that they need to address for sure in free agency. So I think they kind of just need to break the Ravens mold, because what worked a couple years ago is not going to work now. You could get away with you could have a number one receiver and then have just a couple guys who will get you some drag routes across the middle of the field. But and then their tight ends have always been solid. So they've always been a run first kind of team, and then we'll see what happens after the run game gets going, But their defense has also been suspect this year. Definitely not the powerhouse that they have been lately. That we're used to
Hmm.
seeing there. So it would be interesting to see what they're going to do. I don't know if they're just going to clean house. If they're going to get rid of some guys. If they're going to bring in a whole new front office. Stuff like that. But
Hmm.
I mean, we'll see. But it just doesn't seem like their way of doing things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, if you're in this situation, I would say honestly, John Harbaugh is still winning because now he can choose from all these other teams of where he thinks his next destination should be. For Baltimore, I think you're apprehensive. You should have been apprehensive to now start with a new coach for the first time in 18 years. But for Harbaugh, it's like a brand new world, a brand new day for him. So, yeah, I'm very curious to see where he's going to go.
Yeah, I am too. But you just personally, I think New York would probably be a good spot for him. Um,
Yeah,
it gets him
yeah.
out of the AFC.
Hmm.
You got a good young nucleus of talent there. The defense isn't terrible. It needs some work, but that's fixable. Free agents, they got money, so they can easily bring in some guys on the defensive side. And I think their offensive side is good. I mean, Neighbors might miss maybe a month next year, and then but he'll still be there early enough where he can contribute. Um, and I just think that they're going to be probably the funnest team to watch. If you put him there, they could be absolutely dangerous.
I agree. I agree.
Do you have
Jackson
anywhere
Dart.
that you think he might go?
Yeah. So if you got Jackson Dart and Bo Scatabo right away, that looks like a style that Harbaugh can coach for first of
Mm-hmm.
all.
Yeah.
I worry that the receivers, those are good receivers for Harbaugh, but the way he in the past, we haven't seen him fling it in the way, right? We've had Lamar for so long, but Flacco and them, they would throw it. And Anquan Bolden lived well in Baltimore. So I kind of look at it and I say, why not Atlanta? If you want him to go out of conference, I look at it and say, Atlanta is closer in my mind than the Giants. After how the teams played and how injuries happened, both of them lost their quarterback at spurts. And I just come away a little more impressed with Atlanta down the line and their defense. And I know the Giants should be better and maybe they could be better, but I don't know. Something about Atlanta excites me. So I might like to see John Harbaugh go there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad spot either for him. I just think he's not. I genuinely think that they're going to make a run at Belichick. The college experiment definitely did not work out. But I think that's where they're going to lean. They both came away from that. It's like, what, we didn't really see eye to eye on everything, but they do have mutual interest in each other. So it'd be interesting to see if they ended up bringing him in, Sancho,
Hmm.
and
Sorry.
no, you're good. What they end up, if they actually do end up bringing Matt Ryan in to run player
Mm.
personnel or whatever there is,
Yeah, if that,
having
I
him
would
do.
rather Harbaugh
But
not go there than if they do Matt Ryan. I would actually say
mhm.
agree with you and say Giants because Dable has that team pretty close, and I think that ironically less of a distraction for me. And I know the Giants GM, no offense, but he's a big dummy, so he's just
Yeah,
got real lucky here.
well,
So I would rather see
yeah,
him with the Giants in that case.
yeah. The GM has actually been drafting pretty well,
He has
but you
been.
don't know if that's a contributing with Dayball, and then the GM's son. He's been telling everybody, hey, put on social media, said Jackson Dart. Well, you're going to take Jackson Dart. It's like they ended up doing it, and he's going to be pretty good for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just look at like some of the stuff that Harbaugh brings with him, it's looking up some of the stuff here. 180 and 113 overall. I think it's around 61% winning percentage over 18 years. That's pretty damn good.
Hmm.
I don't think
Hmm.
they maybe had 3 losing seasons, if that.
Hmm.
And he's not very old, 63, so he's still about 20 years away from Pete Carroll.
Yeah, that's what I
So
saw. The Giants, I think, are everybody's first choice. I think it makes the most sense. Some people said the Raiders. I was gonna just say that after what they did to Pete Carroll, if you're John Harbaugh at 63, you're not really gonna do that.
yeah,
It's not,
yeah.
no.
Well, Pete's pushing 80 if he is not 80 already. But
Yeah, you're
you
right.
know,
So
so
John Harbaugh could get another 18 there, huh?
maybe I wouldn't say never. But you know, 18 years, 18 years there. You got 11 10-win seasons. That's pretty damn good. Um, definitely going to be, like you said, he's going to be the most sought after coach. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's teams that haven't fired their coach yet that haven't reached out to him and saying, hey,
Yeah,
we really want to get rid of Mike McDaniel, but
yeah.
we don't know how to say it yet. So,
I guess
I'm still surprised that they haven't said anything yet.
I guess the curious thing for me is what maybe John Harbaugh would want. I think we were picking teams that I think are ready. I wonder,
Hmm.
would Harbaugh want a rebuild? Because he hasn't
Yeah,
been able to really do something like that in a long time. Sometimes you get a little nostalgic or you get a little like you kind of want to go into your bag again. It's been a while. So like I don't know. You got Arizona and Cleveland, Tennessee. I would say there's more rebuilding with those teams. I know people mentioned them. Um, Arizona is closer, but yeah, like I wouldn't be very excited for those teams. I definitely have Giants Falcons as my absolute top. Raiders are completely no, and whoever goes there, God bless you.
yeah,
And no, they
yeah.
didn't sneeze. God
That's gonna
bless
be a
you.
hell of a hole to come out of. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I tend to disagree about the Cardinals. I don't think they're close really at all about having any sort of a winning team or anything like that. I mean,
They're closer
they have
than the
some
other
decent
ones.
guys.
I guess
They're
Cleveland.
close. They're closer.
Well, you can make the argument Cleveland is closer than the Cardinals. I could see that.
Yeah, I would say if it's not the Giants, then Cleveland is probably the second place that he would might want to go because they're not in a rebuild really. Um, and if he wants to rebuild, if he wants to start from scratch and start all over and, just completely run it back like year one in Baltimore, and try to do something like that to maybe add to his legacy. I mean, good on him for, having a little pep in his step. But I think from where he is at now, he wants to go somewhere where they have an established roster and they're not going to have to draft, and build it within the next 2 to 3 years. So being as long as he's been in Baltimore, I just think that's probably what he's going to be looking forward to. At least I would be in his shoes.
Yeah, I get it. Totally understand.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I could see him. It would be very dramatic if he went to Cleveland. Staying in the AFC North.
It
Um,
sounds filthy,
I think
so
that it does. It's very very dirty sounding. But I don't see him going to Tennessee because they are in such a disarray right now. Um, yeah,
mhm.
you have a good young quarterback right now that you can work with, and Cam Ward did progress pretty well this year. You don't like that he took an injury in the last game of the year, but we'll see how that shit goes. Through the off season and everything. Um, but yeah, if he's not, I just genuinely think that the Giants are ready to take the next step. I think they're the most ready right now as far as this list of teams goes. And
Yeah.
maybe some other jobs will open up too in the next week or so. But we'll just have to wait and see. Is there anybody that you're thinking right now that may still get that pink slip here in the next week or two?
I know they're joking about a lot of people firing their head coach now that John Harbaugh is available. I don't really think that that will happen.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's just crazy enough. But if I was Jerry Jones, I'd fire Brian Schottenheimer for John Harbaugh. And it's Jerry Jones, so like it's just
I
crazy
wouldn't
enough
put
to
it past
happen.
them.
Being honest,
Yeah. They
I
did.
would.
Yeah, they did just fire Eberflus, so I mean, why stop there, But
Why?
I
Why
think
not?
Schottenheimer's safe.
He's okay,
but
but I don't.
being Jerry Jones,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
exactly.
put it
I
past
could
him.
see it. I can just my brain.
I
It
could see it
doesn't. It's not
happening.
hard to wrap it my head around it at all. What a Jerry Jones move. Oh wait, she got to
Yeah.
get our guy. Gotta go get him.
Yeah, we missed the playoffs again. So if they're not talking about the Dallas Cowboys, by God, I ain't making no money. So I don't see that happening, but like
Yeah,
I wouldn't be amazed either.
that would be my
I think
wild
if
card.
anybody else, yeah, that's a good one though. It's really a good one. Um, and I think there's only two that I can really see right now that may get the boot would be McDaniels could still be let go. But if he hasn't been let go yet, I mean, I think the longer that it gets drawn out, it's better news for
less
him.
less likely. Yeah.
Um, Less likely it's going to happen. But I have it narrowed down to him and then Todd Bowles in Tampa. Um, I think that they could make that decision to kind of let him go because they had the same thing happen that the Colts did. I mean, they had a
Right.
great start, shotgun start right out of the water, and then right around bye week time, everything just went to shit. Um, yeah, with Mike Evans constantly being hurt, Godwin not staying healthy. Um, Defenses were starting to scheme around Ibuka, starting to figure him out and everything. And then, Baker just seemed like he lost a step somewhere around week 7 or 8. And they lost their way. Their defense was like nowhere to be found. I mean, their defense was solid at the beginning of the year, but then,
Mhm.
you always knew that if Tampa had the ball last, they were going to win the game because Baker was going to do something to pull them out of the hole. But
Yeah.
and then I just out of nowhere they imploded. And even though you beat Carolina in the last week, you still missed the playoffs. And Carolina just sneaks in by the skin of their teeth, and it just that whole scenario is still just sour,
Hmm.
So maybe they just need to get some stuff figured out there, and maybe the NFL can do something about this losing record and still making the playoffs. It's absurd to me, but
It
I don't
happens.
know what it does happen. It has happened, but I mean, good lord, if you have a losing record, something maybe. And you know what? Maybe it's time to shake divisions up. It's been this way since what 2002.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
maybe that's something they
Yeah.
can do. Maybe, change things up a little bit, but it probably won't happen.
No, probably not. But
Yeah,
I
but
feel
we'll
like it's the responsibility of those road teams in the wild card. It is their responsibility to beat those teams' asses. And the problem we have is when we think of a team that got in and shouldn't, Seattle Seahawks, hey, yeah, Marshawn Lynch was born. And it's like, okay, so when the NFL looks at that, they're like, we don't need to change it. We created a legacy off of it. Like, so
yeah.
they
Look at
don't
these
care if there's a
ratings.
the Chargers when we were like 13-3 and they were 9-7 and they barely won their division. They got the home game. They beat us. They beat us.
Yeah, yeah. Peyton
So it's
decided to have
like,
one of his 6 interception games.
yeah. So when they look at that, they're probably just being like, then beat them. You're better, beat them on the road. You're so much better that you
Yeah,
deserve the home game. Then beat them, and they teams don't sometimes. So, yeah,
yeah. Maybe make it a neutral site game. Make it like a bowl game. Do something. How embarrassing would it be to if you have the Rams and the Panthers in the first round, but you have to move it to a neutral site, so you put them in Dallas.
well, yeah. If the Rams
Hey
think
Jerry,
about
you
that,
guys can host a playoff game, but your team's not in it.
if the Rams lose to the Panthers, it would be like the Saints losing to the Seahawks or the Colts losing to the Chargers. Like those teams were one of the best, happened to not win their division, and they play some crap team that barely got in, and then they lose. And I'm looking at that, I'm going, shit, shit. Here it is again. Bryce freaking Young. Oh
It's
no.
happening.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. But yeah, Bryce
Anyway.
Young's about to get his first playoff win, isn't he?
Yeah, fuck. Anyway.
I would be I would be so surprised if they ended up pulling
Hey,
that off. But
something good has to
um,
happen for Alabama because it hadn't been going great late last week. Ty Simpson going to go pro. Puh, puh.
oof, puh.
Anyway,
Yeah.
anyway.
Um, well, since we got Harbaugh
Hmm.
out of the way, we still have 7 openings. Um, who do you think would be a good fit for any of the other teams? I have a few guys who I think would be a good fit, some here and there, but then you also have your OCs, your DCs who are going to
Hmm.
be probably promoted and get their first head coaching gig.
Yeah.
All these head coaches that have been fired, they're not all going to be head coaches next year. Some of them may take some time off. Some of them may go back to being a coordinator or something. Um, I have my list of people and where I think they would
Hmm.
be good. But who do you see fitting in somewhere else?
So I'm going to preface by saying that you said 7 openings. Okay. So that means that there's been 7 coaches fired. And I would say without a doubt that the only ones that deserve another head coaching job this coming season is John Harbaugh and maybe Brian Dable. The rest of them should not be a head coach. And I don't give two shits how what anyone else has to say. Kevin Stefanski, Raheem Morris, Jonathan Gannon, none of they're all coordinators. Not a single one of them should be a head coach this following season. None. Zero. But I like John Harbaugh. He's a lock. He's an absolute lock for TV or head coach. Those are his options next year. Or I
Yeah.
just taking a year off, just literally just not doing anything at all if that's what he wants. The other choice in my mind is Brian Dable. So I think Dable should get the second best job. So the way I just look at this scenario, I think he should go to Atlanta if John Harbaugh is going to take his old job. That's what
I
I think should
I
happen.
like Dayball in Atlanta. Yeah, that's a good one. I I think he would fit in quite nicely down there. And the NFC South being a trash division,
Mm-hmm.
they would be automatically in the
They'd be
front to take
and
that
it's
division.
offense, right? It's a good flip from Raheem Morris. If you're going to fire him, to me, that's like, okay, so you want an O guy, like you want the guy that commands the ship on with the ball. So okay, Brian Dable is offensive, minded. So then you got all those young pieces on offense, and like, okay, Dable goes there. Now, if he doesn't get a head coaching job anywhere, okay. But if one of these other Stefanski, if one of these other guys gets it, I'm gonna be pissed because they shouldn't be it. And if it's Belichick, to be fair, he has his choice of where he wants to go. Even if John Harbaugh is like, hey, I want to go there too. Belichick is probably going to get chosen over John. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just too much of a legacy. And the feeling of his way works and stuff. So if Belichick comes in, then if he wants the Giants job, he's going to have the Giants job. Like he's going to have whatever one he wants. But Dable is the guy that I like, and I want to see where he goes.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him go to Atlanta. That would be a pretty good fit for him, I do believe.
Hmm.
The only thing that kind of worries me right now is with Brady being one of the people out in Las Vegas. Do they try to bring in Belichick over there? But
But
man, I
that
don't know.
wouldn't it
I don't know if he would want
drama,
that though.
the theater, the
Yeah,
drama.
and that's the dude. The league is turning into that because they have all these bad calls that they've been having. High drama, high energy, high emotion. The refs blowing kind of games and stuff like that.
Do
Why
you
wouldn't they
think
do that? They would absolutely do that.
Do you think the NFL went under the veil and they hired Vince McMahon to run their like drama, their PR like thing? Because it kind of runs like a wrestling promo and like the way everything goes, like you just said, like the plot thickens. And
Yeah,
it's like, oh, Belichick goes to a Brady owned team. And it's like, of course is that's what happens. Of course.
yeah. Yeah, and then it's like instantly turned around. Well, I don't know if Vince is
Probably.
involved because I don't think anybody's going to the bathroom on each other, so he would try to write that in there somewhere. Um, but yeah, no, I think he's too far gone, man, to be involved in
Yes.
anything else. I think he just needs to be uh, just sent out to pasture, tell them to look at the flowers, and then listen for the bang. But I don't see that. Yeah, and you're right. I don't think any of the other guys who are out there right now, maybe Stefanski may be the most qualified out of the other guys to get another head coaching job, but I don't think he will. Um, but yeah, Gannon, Morris, Stefanski, I think they're coordinators, and that's where they need to be, and they need to kind
Hmm.
of be humbled maybe a little bit because that's where they've had a majority of their success. So Raheem
They could,
Morris, I just think that he can change any defense and quickly.
yes,
So
agreed.
they would automatically be an improvement on defense. So
Hmm.
I look at, but you look at kind of some of the rumored names, guys who are available, some guys who are currently in the playoffs right now, so we have to wait until either they're eliminated or whatever. But I think probably the most common name that comes up as far as maybe first time head coaches would be Jesse Mentor, who's the D coordinator for the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh. He's been he's been with the Ravens before. He was with Jim in Michigan, and now he's with Jim now in LA, doing a hell of a job. And they did a hell of a job, with all the injuries that they've had this season, and still finding a way to make the playoffs. And that's just like, it seems to be something that we're missing. We take an injury and it's season's over. And these guys are taking San Francisco and L.A. and those guys are taking injuries and they're still making the playoffs.
Hmm.
So I think Mentor may be considered for Baltimore. I think just because he has that history there, so they have that familiarity. He knows the area, he knows the ownership of that and everything. He knows the town. But I think he'd probably be at least my number one guy as far as somebody who's ready to take a new job.
Right. I think that
Um,
maybe coordinator wise, I would go with Brian Flores as mine. I think he is a lock for a head coaching position. My only concern is just the past history of bullshit that people get scared about, but he's earned his opportunity and he never really failed. I think he has tremendous potential. So for me, I think that that's the most likely coordinator to get a job. I'm assuming that two head coaches from last year that are fired are going to get jobs, Harbaugh and Dable. If you bring Belichick in, that's three. I would say that the fourth guy taking a job has got to be Flores. Um, I don't feel as well like a Cliff Kingsbury because I've seen him do it before. I'm okay if he gets another opportunity, but to me, he's giving me McDaniels vibes. I don't really feel very excited as for a head coach. I think he's just an OC. I think Jesse Minter should get an opportunity. He's at
yeah,
least got Gannon quality where he deserves an opportunity for 2 or 3 years. And you're like, what if he hits lightning in a bottle and he's an awesome head coach? So I think he definitely deserves a job. So my 4 and 5, I gotta go Flores Minter. I don't know who those other two are going to be. I know you sent me one, said something about maybe a Kubiak, and I don't know. I think the other two guys are going to be shocking. With the Raiders being involved, you never quite know what could happen. Bill O'Brien. I mean, there's names out there that we could be shocked about. So I don't really know who the sixth and
oh,
seventh. Don't you me. The sixth and seventh jobs are probably going to be a little more surprising, but those are my 5 that I feel pretty strongly that they should be hired as head coaches for the NFL cycle.
yeah. There's going to be at least one or two that come out of left field that we don't
Hmm.
see right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Kingsbury. It's kind of a slippery kind of slope there. He had his falling out in Arizona, and then he went to Thailand for a little bit to kind of get away from stuff. They in Arizona definitely basically were telling him, take a hike. We're choosing Kyler over you, and now Kyler's still on Kyler shit, and it's just like, what are you doing to prepare? What are you doing to get better? And it's like they haven't had near the success that they have with Kyler without Kingsbury. Because when Kingsbury and Murray were together, they were tearing it up. But they just the same thing as always. It's just injuries piling up, and whether it be locker room drama or off the field drama, Call of Duty and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Him just not taking it seriously. But you look at Arizona right now from the outside. It's just you just look at it and you can tell these guys are probably going to clean house. And I did see a stat today that Arizona has not maintained a head coach for more than 6 seasons. That's been their longest tenured coach, and it just seems like even recently it's been maybe 3 years, and then they're gone, and they just keep resetting and resetting and resetting. It's like at some point you're gonna have to just sit and take a long hard look at it and actually try to figure out, hey, who can be the voice in this locker room? Who can come here and make people want to come to games? Because I honestly fear that they're going to be the next Chargers. Where they're just going to have all their games are going to be road games. So
Yeah.
it's definitely not a
Mm-hmm.
good time to be an Arizona fan, I don't think, but they'll have to figure it out. And I think, like you were saying, me and you, I think, are just reverse. Where I have Mentor and you have Flores. That's
Mm-hmm.
I have Flores as my two. And I think Flores, a good spot for him would be Arizona, because he's one of those guys that can change your culture like that and can bring a
Mm-hmm.
new attitude,
Mm-hmm.
and he can bring, speed, physicality, trash talk and everything like that. He can bring that
Right.
kind of a instant change to them, and it may maybe it could change them around. Maybe it will keep them where they are. You never know.
Yeah.
But I think he's good enough to do that.
A team that like my brain just totally like missed on was the fact that obviously Baltimore needs a new head coach. I don't know why I wasn't thinking that. Uh,
Well,
so right out of the
yeah,
gate,
that's why I was saying I think Mentor could probably go there and
Mentor
replace John.
Mentor going to Baltimore, I think actually makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's why I agree. I see that, and then Flores to Arizona, that makes a lot of sense. That means that Kingsbury could go to like a Cleveland, so I wouldn't be that surprised if that happened. And then I think Tennessee and the Raiders, they're going to be the ones that surprise us the most. I mean, that to be fair, they're the most surprising ones. One of them might grab a guy out of college, so yeah, that's how I see it going. Hopefully, Daboll doesn't take like a Tennessee job because I'm sorry, but that's beneath him.
It
And I
is.
don't want him in the
It is
division
that
because he's pretty good. I
whoever.
like
I
him.
mean, yeah, I don't like rooting against him either. I, yeah, whoever takes the Tennessee job and the Raiders job for that fact. I mean, they have their work cut out for them. I mean,
Those are the
because you
worst
have
jobs, clearly.
the ownership, yeah, the ownership in Vegas. Davis may not be, a complete idiot, but he is kind of on that Jerry Jones level of, this is my team, I'm going to do what I want. And you kind of need to come in here and you follow my coattails, whatever I decide to do, you need to back me up. And then you kind of, I'll lay down the smoke, but it's up for you to clear it out. So, and I think actually in his first year, Schottenheimer did a pretty decent job
Hmm.
taking over. There were times where Dallas looked like they were going to be, contenders. So I mean, maybe year two they look a little bit better, or they're just going to cowboy it up like they always do. But I still, yeah, the Raiders and the Titans, the ownership is kind of like on that same level of just instability. They don't really know what the hell's going on. They're picking in the top five. It seems like the last few years, so
Hmm.
it's going to be tough to kind of pull those teams out of the hole that they're in right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And hopefully those teams can stay a little patient. The Jets are showing patience with Aaron Glenn. They traded 2 stars away to help do a rebuild. Hopefully those teams can also stay a little patient because they're going to need stuff. Um, I mean, I know you got the Raiders got Crosby, and you got JT and Bowers, and it's like you need a lot more than that. Tennessee, I know you got Cam Ward, but
Mm-hmm.
you need a lot more than that. Like, so we'll see.
Yeah,
Those ones are going to
they've
be
stock up on
surprising.
some
So
collateral.
a lateral for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, well, we got the coaching carousel out of the way. We'll go ahead, I guess, and move on to the CFP semifinals that are
Hmm.
starting
Yeah.
tomorrow and Friday. Um, Tomorrow night we get Miami Ole Miss. Should be a banger. I mean, I'm expecting a banger.
Me too.
Two teams that I don't think anybody had these guys, making it this far. At least, as a majority anyway. I know we picked, them
Hmm.
at least Ole Miss to get this far. But it's going to be tough for them to kind of keep this little magic carpet ride going, since the Lane Kiffin stuff. I am going to keep my original deal here and say that Ole Miss will make it to the finals. I think they're going to continue to ride the Lane Kiffin wave of emotion, even though every game they win, Lane Kiffin's going to get paid. So I mean, it means that he's going to get money for it.
Is he going to get a
But
ring?
at the same time, I think the players. I really hope he does not. I kind of hope that Ole Miss kind of tells him to F off and say, you'll get your bonus money. We'll honor the contract, but you're not going to get a ring, dude. You bailed on us. So,
So will the record
I would,
show that
I would
in
like to see it that.
will the record show in 2026 that the All-State Sugar Bowl was won by Lane Kiffin?
No, absolutely not. Nope. He left the team at after the Alabama game. So yeah, at this point he can get fucked. But I mean, what a hell of a job
He
by the
fucked.
interim staff there. Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if any of these guys are going to LSU when their season actually does end. But what a
yeah.
hell of a job they're doing, keeping the kids motivated and game planning and everything. So
So,
I just think that they have that kind of momentum going into this game.
all right. So, do you know where the championship is being played at this season?
Oh, is it LA? I
Yep.
genuinely don't know.
You want me to tell you? It is
Or is it in
Mi-
Miami?
Miami Gardens, Florida. Give me the
Yeah,
Hurricanes.
don't do it. Oh,
I'm
you're a prick.
No, I'm not even a prick. I don't really know how I feel about this game. I really don't. Um, but as I pulled it up to look at some stuff to help discuss, so that I didn't get certain things wrong, it was the first thing I saw, and I knew at that very moment what I needed to do. You sometimes you see things in life
Mm,
and you just know in that moment that that's the moment you're having to help you in life, and that's the helping me make this pick. Miami Hurricanes are going to win. They're going because everyone doubted them. They're going because of the drama of the CFP and who got in. They're going because they were actually heavily talked about before the season started, that the old Hurricanes are coming back, and there was a lot of hype for them because Carson Beck was a Heisman nominee starting the season. They're favored to win this game, and if you're being honest, who did you leave more impressed by after round one? Ole Miss's shootout with Georgia late, with some late heroics, or were you more impressed by a very controlling, dominant type of win with Miami over Ohio State? I have to go with Miami.
yeah, I can see that, and I'm not going to say that you're wrong about it, but I do look at the Miami and Ohio State game. You give Ohio State coming off the Big Ten championship loss, getting what 2 weeks off, and then coming back and playing a team who was already loose, who had just gone on the road and beat A&M at their house. So Miami was pretty motivated, and they had gone kind of on a hot streak here of why not us? I'm sure that they're doing that, and probably a lot of cocaine too.
Did you
Um,
know? Did you know
I
the
think, but I
years?
just
Go
think
ahead.
no, you're fine.
What I was going to say is, did you know the years there was a Cavender twins in the college girls college playoffs, and they were on the Miami Hurricanes, and they played against the Hoosiers and beat the Hoosiers in the tournament. And did you know, like a day or two before that, the Miami Hurricanes also eliminated the men's IU team, which we haven't been making it to the playoffs all that often by Miami put us out. So again, Miami, IU. There's a lot of correlation here where it tells me it's actually very obvious that that's how it's going to go because this is a simulation and we're not even really here.
Yeah, that's a good one. Get your tinfoil hat on, folks. I just think that I think Miami kind of used up all their. They put so much into that game against Ohio State. That they got kind of beat up by A&M. It was a low scoring defensive fist fight against an SEC opponent. And then they come up against the second best team in the Big Ten and do what they did. Yeah, they had a great plan for Ohio State, and they kept them pretty well bottled up and everything. But I think we see it in sports a lot is when they have so much energy focused on one team, that it kind of turns around and you see what Ole Miss did against Georgia, who I think Georgia was a better team than Ohio State going into it. But the way the Ole Miss kind of kept their composure even when they were down, by multiple scores there in the third and fourth quarter, they didn't let things get too far out of hand, and their quarterback made so many plays when they needed it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think right now they're riding that momentum, and they're not like letting things get too big and not get too far out of hand. So that's just I feel like they're going to continue to ride that wave.
That's fair. Ole Miss played well. There was just times that I thought they were going to lose. But Chambliss was fantastic, and he's the X factor in this game. What he is able to do to improvise and to extend a play and make something happen with his legs. Carson Beck, you're not going to have that same kind of fear. Of course, he can move around a little, but not in that way. Chambliss is like playmaker, right? It's what he does. He's a playmaker, and Quan Lacey was great in the game, but it felt like they really had to wear his ass out with the ball. Like they were like, look, you're getting the ball again. We don't even care if you're tired, you're getting the ball again. It felt like they really wore him out. I just think that Miami's confidence level, Ole Miss, I think, feels like they won and got a hump off their back. And then Lane Kiffin, fuck you, I can't believe you'd leave us. Miami feels like their win was like a prove it. Like, yeah, we know we're this good. And it just feels like that uber confidence is going to carry them. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I probably would rather see Ole Miss win, but I feel pretty confident it's going to be Miami. That's just me.
No, that's understandable. You got a score prediction, you think?
I don't think it's going to be very high scoring. I'm going to go with 20-14 Miami.
That's understandable. I would say I'm gonna guess it would be. It'll probably be a one score deal, but I would lean 27-23. Just a narrow kind of maybe a late score, a late turnover. Will kind of seal it.
Mm-hmm.
In my eyes, I don't think and I'll probably get ridiculed for it, but I don't think Carson Beck's going to have a very good day. I think if Miami scores, if they have any success, it's going to be with the running game. But I think Carson Beck will probably be under some pressure, and I think
Mm-hmm.
he's not going to have a very good day.
Okay, we will see.
So I
This
I say
obviously,
I say 20. What did I say? 20, 27, 23, 28,
yeah,
24.
yeah.
No, I can't remember. But anyway,
Yeah,
that's
I
that's
think it
because
was
I'm
one of them.
awesome
It was
professional.
27. Yeah, it was 27-23, I think.
We'll say 27-23.
Yeah.
And then you say 20 to what was yours?
2014.
20-14. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well we'll rewind and look back at it later.
Yeah.
But the next one,
Um, mm,
the next one is the one I think everybody's going to be tuned into. IU Oregon 2. which I don't know about you, but when I was watching the game where IU beat Oregon in Eugene, I was like, we're gonna see this matchup again. We need to see this again, because it was so good. I mean, it wasn't like out of
Mhm.
hand. Nobody really pulled
Mhm.
away at any given time, but IU just made, like it seems like they've done all year, they've made the play when they needed to make the play. And when Mendoza throws that pick six, it's like, oh shit. Now it's tied. So what are we going to see out of him now? And it's just what he has done all year, and in the face of adversity, he makes the play, the right throw to get him back into it and get him back on top. What do you
You're
think
breaking up a
about
little
that?
bit, so sorry.
How is that? That's terrible. Um, no, just saying
Okay.
that it just seems like the first game that they had when they needed the play, Mendoza was there to make it,
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that.
and
Yep.
you
Hmm.
want to see this matchup again. So I think it'll probably be same song and dance. I think Oregon will come out and be a little bit more competitive, but I think this will be more scoring than it was in the first matchup. Um, I would say IU probably 38-30. Um, once kind of a one score affair, but I think the ass whooping that they put on Alabama, and it's going to be hard to stop them.
Yeah. I I think that I am still not quite settled from that Alabama game. I don't think IU could have ever made a bigger statement than doing that to Alabama. I don't think that if they did that to Oregon or some of these other teams. I don't even know if they did that to Ohio State, if it would have made the same impact because Alabama, it's like that was a torch passing moment in my mind that they didn't maybe want to pass. They probably like, wait, this we don't want to give you this torch of being dominant, but they just took it. And the physicality in the game, IU in the trenches was unstoppable on both sides. And I look at that and I think that should give them the edge in this game is the unstoppable trenches. The three big stars at wide receiver, the running the ball and then the Heisman winner. I cannot, even though I'm a homer, I cannot see the scenario where IU doesn't show up to play a well fought game, and I just think that they'll come out on top. But I think this is probably going to be a lot closer because an ass whooping can make you a little lazy. I worry about, you know, taking Oregon for granted because you beat them by 10 mid-year. I look at that and I'm like, I'm thinking it's going to be more. I want to say, did you say 30 to 27? No, you said 30 to
38-30 is what
38.
I
I
said.
think it's not going to be that high. I think it's going to be 30 to 27 or 30 to 28 in favor of IU. I think it's going to be close. And I said last week it was going to be close and we were going to have an Omar Cooper touchdown to win the game. And I was very far off because we crushed
Yeah,
Alabama
I
and
think we all were.
it was gross. If IU, look, at this point, IU is the best team left, but that doesn't mean they'll win. They have to show up and play good football, but they are the best team left. So,
Yeah, I don't think anybody would disagree that Indiana and Oregon, this matchup, is definitely the two best coach teams left. And you got Dan Lanning, who's a hell of a coach,
mhm.
and then Signetti, who I think he could motivate anybody, to do what he needs them to do. So I think anybody would be willing to run through a brick wall for either one of these guys. So it sucks that it has to be a semifinal matchup. This is something like the two best coach teams. You want that to be the end. It's like who's the better coach here. But
Mhm.
the NCAA would probably lose its shit if it was an all Big Ten final. So they kind of want to get it done now and out of the way. And I just think that it's going to come down regardless. It's going to come down to Big Ten, SEC when it's all said and done. Um, maybe the way it should be. I think I just and if Miami does win, they find a way to get past Ole Miss. Then I mean, congrats to them. But it's just going to start the argument all over again. They're going to either try to add more teams or make the credentials. They're gonna do something to change how teams are able to get in. So I have a hard time putting Miami in the title game. Seeing how they kind of back their way in, I have a hard time saying, yeah, if you didn't win the conference championship, then you don't really have a place to be in the tournament here. So
My
I have personally a hard time doing it, but
My only thing to that, my qualm is I understand that they're not a conference champion, and it kind of bothers me as well that they made it and like they're gonna maybe be in the championship game and they weren't even a conference champion, but the ACC didn't even send their conference champion in. The fair thing, I think, is in the ACC, Miami's the best team in that conference. Would you agree with that?
I would.
So it's probably got more to do with the weirdness of them not being able to be in the game to win it, which I think they would have. It's probably got more to do with the way it goes and how things shake and whatever than it does, who's the best team. They're the best team in that conference. And they need a Notre Dame to join that conference to make it more substantial because it's only got a few good
Yeah.
teams in it. So anyone that thinks the ACC is a good conference or the best conference, you don't watch football enough, obviously. Um, Check the pros sheets. Just go and look how many pros are drafted out of the ACC. Give me a freaking break. So, um, it should be an SEC Big Ten. But if what you were prefacing a second ago, the best teams that are left, it really should be IU, Oregon in the title game. If Oregon were to win and beat IU, it wouldn't matter that much to me that they beat IU. I like Oregon better than Ole Miss and Miami by just a hair. So I would
Mm-hmm.
probably pick Oregon, and it wouldn't be, well, of course, because they picked IU. It wouldn't really be because of that. IU could just shit the bed and Fernando could have the flu and they just can't play. I still would probably pick Oregon. It wouldn't have anything to do with, wow, they beat IU. I just think that Oregon showed me a lot in the last week's game, and they've been consistently good all year. And like you said, they're well coached. The tree of Saban lives well. So I have
Yes.
curiosity in the Miami Ole Miss game, but yeah, the IU Oregon, you can make the argument whoever wins this game is going to be the national champion.
Yeah, that's how I see it playing out. I definitely think whoever wins that one is should at least be the favorite to win the national championship game. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with that, but
The only
um,
problem to
it's a
that,
shame that we.
the only
Uh,
problem to that, Miami gets there and they're a fucking home team in the national championship. That's the only concern that I have
yeah,
that really sways things in a weird,
I
weird way.
I just don't see that happening. I mean, it would be. I mean, it would be a fairy tale ending for them and their fans if that were to happen, But
And the rest of us would be like,
then you kind of look
boo.
at it. Yeah, boo! I didn't see nothing. But yeah, I just think that I just think IU's on just a historic run. It felt like Ohio State last year, Michigan the year before. It just
It,
seemed like they were
yes,
the team that it just seems like they're on that pace.
yes,
And there's the only team that can stop them from doing it is themselves. And
yes.
I just don't see this team getting in their own way.
I'm glad that you said that too, because I was just thinking in my head that would be the third Big Ten team in a row to win the national championship. So for anyone to say that somehow some other conference is better than the Big Ten, if you don't say the SEC, then you're not even being in a conversation. You're being completely ignored. There is no one else close. The SEC is close. They have a lot of strong teams. But it is important that the Big Ten, Michigan, the last four-team CFP was Michigan. The first 12-team CFP, Ohio State. If IU goes and does it, that's three in a row. Come on. Oh, Big Ten's not good. Well, okay, so they don't play anyone all year, but then they still win the whole fucking thing. Like, enough. Enough.
Yeah, Yeah, it's like suck it, Feinbaum, because he
What a
pisses me off
what a
anyway. But he's
jerk. He
such a
won't
homer.
ever pick. He won't pick an IU
He
or
is.
anyone over an SEC. Everybody was picking Alabama. We didn't probably speak enough about the bullshit from everyone talking about how Alabama was going to beat IU. We're not really built that way as much. We don't sit there and count our chickens after the game like that. We don't typically do that. A lot of people want to run us through the bullshit. You guys suck. You got it wrong. You're so stupid. You don't watch football. That's fine. But we don't sit there and gloat our asses off and go and scream at Portnoy or Feinbaum or whoever the fuck made some obnoxious 38-20 pick Alabama. We don't sit there and go into their X page and be like, oh, you guys fucking suck a cock. Ah. I'm like, no, we don't care. It's okay. Like, we won.
Yeah,
We felt like we were going to win. And if you're a confident person, you don't feel the need to do that, right? You don't feel the need.
yeah, yep. And that's what. Yeah, Hoosier hospitality, bud. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's that Midwest humility. Where it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe our team didn't do it, but when they do, it's like, all right, you want to talk shit so much, but at the same time, you're just like, if I go online and I make an ass out of myself, and then they turn around and they shit the bed and they get blown out, and it's like, oh shit, now I feel so bad. It was like when Michigan won the title in 23, they it was like I wanted to talk so much shit because everybody's like, oh, they're scared to play Bama. They wanted Florida State because they didn't have their quarterback. And they made that big deal about the selection show, and it's like, okay, well, Alabama got in over Florida State. Michigan, you could tell by their reaction, they were scared. They didn't want to play Nick Saban in
Hammer
Alabama. And it's like,
down.
those are the games that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't get that. Like a Big Ten team, you don't get that matchup with an SEC powerhouse in a regular season. You only get that matchup in a playoff. So that's you kind of want that, and I wasn't afraid of it. It's like, all right, well,
Mm-mm.
you know what? We got dismantled by Georgia the first year, and then TCU beat us in a shootout the year after that. So it's like, okay, well, we're going to have to beat one of these top tier teams in order to get the title, in order to get where we want to go. So when Alabama made it in, it's like, all right, I mean, we got to take it to them. If team is destined for greatness, like I thought they were, it's just like you could see it play out. We were going to have to beat Nick Saban, the best of all time, and then we were going to have to go on and beat either Texas or Washington. Washington was the only other undefeated team that year, besides
Mm-hmm.
Michigan and Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going to have to do it. And there's what
Mm-hmm.
better way to do it than to knock out the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you kind of want games like that. At least I do. You want to see where you measure up. And, if Alabama
Yeah.
goes in there and they destroy us, it's like, all right, Harbaugh, you did what you could. You took us as far as you could. It's just not working out, man. You're a hell of a coach, but it's just not working out. I mean, maybe we need a change.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
to beat Alabama in the way that we beat Alabama, it just rocket strapped Michigan into the next game. And I think that gave us the confidence that we needed to smoke Washington in the title game. And Washington had a hell of a fight with Texas. So they were in a really close physical game with those guys. So you kind of want, if you're watching, like IU fans like we are, we're going to be watching. We're going to see what kind of a game plan the IU has. If they come out and they win a good game, competitive game, and then you're going to see, how Ole Miss and Miami goes. Because I think Ole Miss and Miami could be one of those just knocking the snot bubbles out of each other. Because Miami's
Mm-hmm.
defense, man, they'll come to play. So we'll see what can come of that. But it seems to me that right now Indiana is just that team of destiny that you see leading up to the end of the season, towards the end of the playoff and everything like that. It's just they seem to be on that course to it's inevitable. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
win it, and you just have that hope. So every play we're going to be on the edge of our seat, saying like, okay, well, this throw going down the field or this run, can he break a 15-yard run? Yeah. So
Yep.
it's going to be highly emotional. I know my feet are going to be kicking every second.
hmm And I like IU's attitude because I think that when there's a mistake made, like you said earlier, when they make those mistakes, they stay as about as composed as any team in college. And I just think it's gonna be awesome. And um, you were pointing out the Washington game and then like Michigan. It's like when you look at everybody's resume and the way things happen, it's like it does look like a little bit of destiny involved. It fits the plot. Like it's like the game of Mad Libs where you have the story already played out and all you got to do is insert the words. And it seems like at every spot it makes sense of like IU. Like that makes this team is going to beat this team because of this, and it's like, yeah, IU, they stopped the run real. You just feel that they are going to be able to do what they need to win the national championship. And for anyone to be like, well, they are lucky they didn't have to beat so and so. This like think about their resume that they'll finish the college season off with to sit there and try to be like, well, they didn't play nobody. They beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, last year's champion. Then they go and they beat the shit out of Alabama. Okay, so there's your legacy shot. Then if you beat an Oregon again, that tells you, okay, well, Oregon beat Texas Tech, right? I believe in the first round. Was it Oregon, Texas Tech? It was, right? 4-5. So
Well,
that means that they
that was
could have,
technically second round.
or second round, that's what I mean. So Oregon, Texas Tech, do I think IU could have beaten Texas Tech as well? Yes. Like you said, tells you they're as good as any Big 12 team. They beat an Oregon a second time in a year. That tells you they're more of a supremacy in the Big Ten. They beat Ohio State. So then they face off against a Miami or an Ole Miss. They don't have a lot of SEC challenges on their resume, but what I would say is if Miami beat Ohio State and then we beat Miami, then that clears that whole run of what could have happened. It clears the whole ACC. Now they're the best in that conference. They could beat anyone there. And then when you have Ole Miss and Georgia, Ole Miss beat Georgia. So theoretically, Ole Miss beating them, if you beat out Ole Miss in the title game, then it's like, yeah, so you probably could have beat Georgia. All the boxes are checked. There's nowhere that you can really point to and be like, well, you didn't have to play them. The only one you could probably say is Notre Dame, and they can just right here.
They can suck it. Yeah, they can suck it. Nobody's gonna know.
There's
You're never gonna
they're
know
the
because
old
they did not make it.
and the reason I bring them up, they're the last team to beat IU. They're the only
Mm-hmm.
one that IU hasn't
They
avenged,
were.
right? And guess what? Put your sack up, Notre Dame. Put us on your schedule. Put us on your schedule. Put your sack up,
That's
you
right.
chicken shits. Like, come on.
If, if we could, yeah, they didn't have any problem having them on their schedule. For the
We're
last
literally in the same
50
state.
years before.
It saves money. It's good for
Yeah.
travel. It saves money. We're in the same state.
Yep.
Put your sack up. Say, hey, let's play each other. We'll play in Notre Dame. I don't give a shit. Let's go.
Hmm. Absolutely, I'd be for it. I would love to see them, I'm kind of feel the same way about Michigan. I mean, they took that Michigan Notre Dame rivalry away.
Yeah.
I blame Brian Kelly for that. That was one of the things he did when he was out the door. They discontinued that rivalry, which I would like to see that game make a comeback. I would love to see Michigan or IU and Notre Dame kind of spark up a new thing because nobody's going to have a rivalry with Purdue for a while because Purdue's going to they're just in an age of irrelevance right now. They are completely 100% a basketball school right now. So
Yeah. And
that's kind of going down the tubes.
yeah. And with the significance of Notre Dame was the one that beat IU last year. It could have been IU in the title game against Ohio State. You never really know. So I know Rourke played good last year, but I think obviously Heisman Doza is an improvement, and that's the difference between this team. If I'm being fair, everybody else was really good last year. A lot of the guys we have, they were just about ready last year, and the first ever year they were any good. And then you get the quarterback that's the
Mm-hmm.
right quarterback. And then it just like, oh shit, we're on the divine intervention here. For me, Notre Dame, yes, you did beat us last year. But if you're not going to put Alabama or someone on your schedule, if you're going to be like, well, we got rivalries with USC. So, okay, cool. Well, we got Navy. We got
Okay,
to
well,
play Navy every
USC.
year. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
okay, yeah. You look to the kind of if you, have you ever even like sat and watched an entire Navy game like ever?
You know,
I watch
I would
Army Navy game
rather
every year, But
I would rather watch them do training for protecting the country than I would watch the football game. Like, just show me your military training and me just be like proud and just be like, yes, fucking great. You guys are awesome. But with football, I'm sorry. You shouldn't be too focused on football because there are other important things in life than football. But these other schools where they don't have
yeah,
like a military thing, it's like, okay, so football is a big deal to you. You're trying to be a pro. Marcus Freeman's done a great job in Notre Dame, but at the end of the day, I just look at that program and I think that they're the biggest cowards in college football. Period.
yeah,
Period.
they are definitely the well, let's just say they're the most premenstrual team for sure. Um, it's kind of makes me want to see what they do with their schedule next year. I don't know who they've got scheduled to play, but
I saw a
are
schedule
they
with
just
like
gonna do cakes?
Virginia. Yeah, hold on. I think
Yeah,
I saw that there was a schedule released for them next year. Give me a second, because I'm almost positive that it was the most unassuming schedule ever. Hold on here.
and
Hold,
it wouldn't
please, while we
surprise me at
do
all.
live fact
But
checking.
you know, if they uh, if they do have a Virginia on their schedule, I mean Virginia took a weird step up this year. They were ridiculously lucky, good, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it. They beat good teams, but it's like nobody saw Virginia coming. I mean, they played in the ACC title game, but then they lose to a 7-5 Duke team.
Yeah.
And if you're Notre Dame and you think that, okay, well, we're going to have Virginia on our 26 schedule, that's really going to make a difference. Over in A&M, no, that's not going to do anything. In fact, it's just going to make them look worse.
I'm having trouble finding it. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Football schedules. They added BYU. Okay. I mean, that's decent. But
Oh my
they're trying
God.
to catch teams that like maybe were better this year than they normally are. Like that's what I saw. Hold on here. The
Yeah,
2026.
boy, Brigham Young. That's really hard.
Here we go. All right.
With
So they
writing
they
Zach
play. Here we go.
Wilson's.
So they play Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Navy, Miami, trying to get them back. That's Boston College,
See, they're
being
basically playing an ACC
ACC.
schedule.
Seriously, it's just ridiculous.
They're playing an
SMU,
ACC schedule
yeah,
already.
yeah. Syracuse,
ACC.
Stanford, and BYU.
ACC.
So they're in the ACC,
I
but
hate Notre
they
Dame.
but they don't want to play in the. They also play three Big Ten teams, right? So they're flirting with that as well, and they don't want to be in either
Yeah.
conference. But you get an extra game to have a championship on your belt,
Hmm.
and that helps you get in the playoff for one.
Yeah, but
But
they're
like
they're
none of those teams outside of Miami,
they're playing the bottom.
most of those teams are at the
They're
bottom.
playing. They're cherry picking the bottom of each conference.
They added BYU. It's at BYU. But yeah, Miami and BYU are the only teams that have been at all relevant this season. The rest of them have been awful. And they three out of the Big Ten,
It's
the,
so
three of
so
them out of the
annoying.
Big Ten, and they didn't pick us. They didn't pick Ohio State. They didn't pick Penn State. They didn't pick Oregon. Like they're not even playing USC, and that's a rivalry game. Like they just picked the worst teams in the Big
Yeah.
Ten this year to play.
Oh
And
God. So
it's
their big leap next year is playing the Mormons.
yes, that
They
was
think
what
that
who they
that's
added.
going to make them. That's
Hmm.
going to. And
Yeah.
BYU being in the Big 12, you know, it's the same story every year. They're going to be ranked in the middle teens just because they're not really playing anybody. They're going to get beat by Texas Tech, or maybe even a Kansas State. But I mean, good God, they don't.
Look,
They're
they
always it's a false ranking. It always
so
is every year with BYU. It's a false ranking.
So Notre Dame, I think what they do is they sign multi-year contracts with the teams that they're going to play because they also added BYU to 2027, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I think they must have agreed to a multiple-year deal to play. So the next year they play
Yeah, usually a
Purdue.
home and home.
So they play Purdue, Michigan State again, right? Then they have Auburn. They got Georgia Tech.
I mean, a
Georgia
little
Tech was
bit
good
better.
this year. Georgia Tech was the one team I would have
Ooh.
said might have been better
Yeah.
than Miami, but they fell off at the very end as well, so it's kind of
Yeah.
hard. They got Wake Forest,
Yeah.
Virginia
Another
Tech,
ACC school. Another ACC.
Clemson, Navy, and then you
ACC.
got BYU. So that's the 27.
Sure, sure, sure.
So they have to add another like four games on there. But they're clearly trying to not play the big teams. They're obviously avoiding these stars of the team. Teams that you
Right.
know out of the gate are absolutely guaranteed like top 10, top 12, top 15. Like these are teams that maybe one could be a 25th, but that's not there's nobody that you look at and go, "Oh, what a hell of a game that's going to be." Like none. Not a single one.
Yeah. No, not at all. And I just, man, that makes me hate them so much more now.
So that when anybody
Just
tries to argue,
they're
just like
playing. If they do play, yeah, I mean, you guys are picking the bottom teams of the Big Ten. You know, Michigan State, they have been ass for the last few years, and they're going to continue to be ass. Their players are transferring left and right.
wait for it, wait for it. In 28, they agreed to play Texas as long as Arch Manning's not there anymore. Once he's gone, they'll play our Texas Longhorns.
Oh my God, yeah, run all his eligibility out. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
So that
Well,
they'll
it's Texas. You know they're
eventually
going to reload, but I mean,
Texas will be good. And so that'll be their first game in 2 years that they'll play probably someone inside. And it says that they may open the season with Texas. So kudos to Notre Dame. In 2 years, you guys may open the year as one of the best games in all of football.
yeah, that's good job.
Anyway,
It's
ran over.
terrible, but yeah, but it's okay. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But like we got, I think if you're gonna play the upper echelon of teams, you always want to schedule that early in the year. Okay, and I wouldn't put it against them if they did that. You know, because I mean Michigan's done that in the last couple of years. We play Texas, and then we had
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma this year. We'll get Oklahoma again next year, but this time it'll be at Michigan. But it's still going to be like week 2, you know, week 3, and in the first 3 weeks where you don't have what you have with all these SEC schools. When you get to like within the last 3 games of the year, they're playing, you know, DeVry University. So you want to get your gimme games at the beginning, as well as maybe one good, maybe top 15 matchup with another team. That way,
Mm-hmm.
if you do lose, yeah, it bodes well for you later down the road. But you also want that team that beats you to run the table or have a great season themselves. So it makes you look a lot better.
Yeah.
So
And so
when you're
they
Notre
go to
Dame and you're
open
sitting there saying, "Oh, well, we had the juggernaut that is BYU," get out of here.
and they're going to go and open the season in Wisconsin, and then they'll play home to Rice and home to Michigan State, and then they'll go to Purdue. That's how they're going to open the first month of football. Like what you just
It's
described
garbage.
is not Notre Dame even a little. Nothing about it.
Yeah, because and this is why I don't respect them at all. If you're not going to join a conference, then you should just shut up. You have no right whatsoever to be considered
'Cause
for the playoff if you're not in a conference.
they basically
Because
have.
we got, I'm looking, I just brought up, yeah, I brought up Michigan's schedule for next year. We have our 2 games that we have out of conference. Well, we have a couple out of conference, but the first one is Western Michigan and then UTEP. Those are like preseason games that every team does
Right.
at the beginning of the season.
Right.
But then
Gross.
week 2, you got Oklahoma. And then next year, we also play Indiana, Iowa, Michigan State, Penn State, UCLA, Minnesota, Oregon, Ohio State, both of them on the road. At Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
at Ohio State. And then, Rutgers. Rutgers is usually the one gimme game, too.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these good teams that we have to go through every year, which is going to make you better.
What's
In the long run,
the
it's going to make you have to compete.
You guys look like you're one short. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you're only playing 3 out of conference teams next year to start the year. The rest of
Mm-hmm.
them are Big Ten. That's interesting
Mm-hmm.
because normally you play 8
Yep.
conference games. Interesting. So I mean, yeah, you guys got to play every good Big Ten team, right? I mean, Ohio State, Oregon,
Yeah.
Indiana,
Yeah.
Iowa,
In the Big Ten, you got
Penn
9 games
State.
now.
Okay. Yeah, so then
Mm-hmm.
you play the five Big Ten
It's gonna
teams.
be
Like
good.
you're not avoiding anyone in the Big Ten. Who are you avoiding? Who's the best team in the Big Ten that you guys don't play? Illinois, uh,
Oh, get out of here with
Washington.
Illinois.
I don't know. You play all the top
Yeah,
teams, right?
we don't play Washington. We played
And then
Washington.
on top of that, you also play
Yeah,
Oklahoma again. So
the
that's
two.
how you schedule your
Yeah,
teams. That's how you do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you could argue the top three teams in the Big Ten, if you're not including Michigan,
One,
your top
two,
three opponents
three.
are going to be IU, Ohio State, Oregon.
And
Two of
they're
those games are on the fucking road. We get IU at home. That's the only thing I'm
you get
happy
IU
about.
at home. Oh yeah, you should be very happy. Woo woo.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
you look at
and then
those
every other
two.
one is on. I mean, you go. Yeah.
You also get Penn State at home too.
Hmm. Well, I'm not really worried about Penn State as much next year because they're going through a
Thing.
regime change just like we are. You
Yeah.
know, I'm not expecting too much in year one of Kevin Whittingham, but I know he's a good coach and I have a lot of respect for him and I think he'll do good eventually. I'm not expecting a ton out of year one, but especially with all the shit that has transpired. But
We just
yeah,
think that
I
you're
don't want to hear anybody.
the way your schedule lines up. So you're going to play three of the top five teams from this year, and two of them will be on the road because you're in the Big Ten.
Hmm.
Right? Because Oregon was the fifth seed,
Yeah,
so they're the third team out of the Big Ten, and they're the fifth best team in the country. So they're playing football right now, so it's just like Notre Dame. That's how you do a schedule. You're playing Miami, who's 10th and playing right now, and that's the only good team you play all year that is anywhere in this echelon of teams, this group of teams. And it's like I don't want to hear the complaining or the whining. You're doing it to yourself.
yeah. So I don't want to hear anybody from Notre Dame say, "Well, you can only play the games that you're scheduled." Yeah, but you're consistently scheduling the bottom feeders of the ACC and the Big Ten every season, and
You're
it's just
scheduling them.
ridiculous. Yeah, and it's so stupid. Well, their schedule's made years in advance.
Do
Stop.
better.
Just stop it. Do a lot
Why were
better.
you if
Well,
in
you know,
that
Purdue,
case
they could turn it around in 3 years.
in that case, why were you being pussies 3 years ago or 4 years ago? Why were you
Yeah,
being such pussies
no
then?
shit.
Like you could have scheduled
Yeah,
put your money. You could have scheduled IU thinking that we were actually still the worst team in Power Five history, but you didn't for whatever reason. And now this could have been a good game, but you've done run away from it 4 years ago. It's like okay,
right.
come on.
Yeah. So I don't want to hear none of that stuff. And that's that conversation has turned me angry.
Oh, would you say Iowa is the next best team in the Big Ten? I was thinking that when you were talking Penn
I would
State
say
and we were talking,
Iowa's a top five.
so they're right there. So you're playing the next best. You're basically playing every single of the best Big
Mm-hmm.
Ten has to offer because can't put
Yeah.
Wisconsin there right now. Washington, USC. You're wait and see on them. Some of them are new to the conference, so it's like yeah, you're playing what they have, the best offer that all could be. If they only have like one loss, they're a very high ranked team. If you're playing them at any point in the year. Like Iowa, if they have one loss come week 5, guess what? They're ranked. If Penn State in week
Yeah.
7 has
Yeah.
one loss, guess what? They're ranked very high. They're like 7th in the country, probably. Like that's how that's going to go. That's what you get when you're in a big fucking
Yeah.
conference. Is you get that kind of notoriety of like, look at us, we're pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. If we have 2 losses at the end of the year, we're still considered a damn good team because of who we played.
Exactly.
So, I would definitely have IU, Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Iowa, USC are probably the top teams in the Big Ten.
Okay, so the USC
So
then is
to
the best team
play
you don't
every
play.
single the USC, but we've played USC we played them last year and this year.
Right. Okay.
So we played Washington last year and this year. And now we get a break from them. Now we're going to play UCLA. We haven't played UCLA yet.
Yeah.
So we're going to get. They're kind of switching off the West Coast teams to give you a break here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, now you got UCLA and
with
Oregon.
Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we avoided Oregon a little bit. We played Oregon the first year they were in the Big Ten, but we got a break from them this year. So I like how it kind of steps up and down, but it's always going to be a tough schedule, and you just sometimes your team isn't man enough to handle it.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we covered it, bud.
Yep, I think so too. That's a pretty good job.
All right.
With all the technical difficulties and everything.
Well, yeah, it's all right. There's
I
just
think we did okay.
it was that one little spot there where I didn't hear or see you at all, and I was like, ah, ah, ah.
Oh. But yeah, well, we'll get back on here and we'll see what transpires in the next couple days with the CFP, and maybe hopefully Friday we can get on here and get a super wild card weekend predictions in and everything. So we'll see what we can do there. But yeah, I think we pretty much nailed everything today, and I think it is time to say ta-ta.
All right. See you later.
All right, see y'all.